Good afternoon. I'm Gene Parunak, host of MedTech Crossroads.
I'm Chris Hemphill. I am Director of Commercial Intelligence at Woebot Health, and co-hosted for Meeting of the Minds Woebot's podcast today.
And we're here with Stacey Frankovich, who is the Director of MedHealth and the person responsible for this whole day, the MedHealth Summit here at Ford Field, in person for the first time in how many years now? First in 3 years?
Almost three.
Wow.
Almost three, yep.
That's amazing. And a great event, great turnout.
Yes, yes.
What are our numbers today?
We're, I believe, a little over 150.
Wow, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep, great turnout, and we have more coming because we have our matchmaking session this afternoon.
Some speed dating happening.
Some speed dating and some matchmaking happening this afternoon.
So tell us more about what is happening today and why it's so important.
Sure. So the MedHealth Summit, I think, is really important to bring the ecosystem together. So we have partners here that are from research institutes, we have investors, we have health systems, we have entrepreneurial support organizations, we have economic developers, all here coming together to support the MedTech ecosystem. Michigan has a thriving MedTech ecosystem, and they need that whole collaboration to pull together to help them get these technologies to market.
I was actually blown, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm up here just seeing how many people came together for this event. How did you coordinate all these different payers and all these different groups to come together to be a part of this?
Well, it's been a long work in progress, but we do have a very robust steering committee made up of payers, providers, private industry, entrepreneurs, all of the sectors I just mentioned, who certainly help with getting speakers and pulling people together. But MedHealth really pulls the ecosystem together. The innovators start here with MedHealth, and we help to push them out to the resources that exist. We try to help, for lack of better term, Sherpa them up the huge mountain of bringing a technology to market. So we really try to partner with all of the organizations in the state and beyond. We are a cross-border collaboration, by the way, so we do try to partner with all of our organizations to ensure that we can get entrepreneurs to the right place at the right time.
I think it's so cool because, when you talk about bringing new technology to market, it's important, but then you tend to get the product companies and the VCs and everything like that. What's so unique about MedHealth is not only have I seen, startups from the local ecosystem here, but also you've got the healthcare systems, and like you alluded to, Chris, you got the payers and others who show up. And the discussion seems to be about things like community health. It's about things like not just did we get a successful company out there, which is really important, but also are we taking care of communities as the ultimate end being met?
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit to some of the entities or others who are here representing sort of that end goal?
Yeah, so when it comes to med technology, you can talk high tech, like devices that are going to be used, hip replacements, knee replacements, but you can also talk about maybe a little bit lower tech applications and things that can be used at the community level. So our keynote speaker earlier spoke very, very well about a lot of the health disparities that we see. And it's not for us to go into a community and tell community what you need to do to be healthier. It's for us to empower communities, to empower each other, and to share within their community what technologies exist, what things can help them improve their lives and improve their health and well-being. So MedHealth really wants to help facilitate some of that community service, if you will, and maybe empower some of those community leaders to learn what is happening in healthcare technology, but then for maybe us in the background to flood the zone with the resources that they need. So the community leader is really the one with the feet on the streets telling their community, here, we can try this can help. And then we need our health systems, our payer systems, our economic developers, all those folks to come in with those resources so they can actually get it done. And we have to educate people on what technologies exist. If you need to track your blood pressure, for example, or if you have diabetes and there are better options for you to manage your diabetes through an application or something that you can do to track at home, we need to get people educated and understand what's being developed to support their communities and support their health. So I hope that was a very roundabout answer, but
it kind of it leads into, like you referenced, what is it, Dr. Philip Levy, the keynote speaker. His presentation presentation was very heavily centric on like what we can learn about Detroit from a population health perspective, and then the data that that surrounds that, and it just made me curious about like this conference and of all these technology players and various groups here. What are some of the underappreciated elements that you're trying to help surface about Detroit?
I don't think people really understand just how bad it is. And I don't want to focus on the negativity. You know, COVID really exposed some wounds. I mean, we can't turn a blind eye to that. But I think what's happening is when we think about MedTech, I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. When we think about MedTech, people think high tech, being used by the practitioners. And I think what is underestimated is how impactful something considered maybe lower tech, like an application or an at-home aid of some kind, or parallel bars for home healthcare workers to go in and help with physical therapy. I mean, these seem pretty easy, but we also have an investment community that maybe doesn't get how important an application can be to a full community. So I think, and not to speak poorly of the investment community because we love them and we need them in this space, but I think we need to also understand where we can create impact, quickly with an application or something, you know, some type of app that can be used at home, or with some type of home health aid so that people can age in place, or home hospital. And I think we need to pay a lot of attention to that to increase the impact to build those healthier communities.
That's interesting because I think that is the kind of thing that's happening out here. I was talking with somebody out in the hall, and they were like, I mean, they're a small company, right? And they got their product to market, and that's great and everything. But hearing some of the discussions today about community health, they're like, whoa, like our product could already help with that. And there's a conversation there that wouldn't have happened before today.
Right.
And so those connections getting made.
And even with Dr. Levy talking about what we know about data, we need to use data. And we're told all the time, we have all this data, we don't know what to do with it. We literally have people coming to us saying, can you help us find somebody that can manage this data for us? Well, what Dr. Levy's trying to do is take that data and be able to make practical use of it so that we know how to deploy resources. We know what communities specifically need, not just a guess, but we know what they specifically need because we've got that data. So really critical part of the whole conversation that doesn't get, it's not sexy, it doesn't get as much attention as a new fancy device, but it's super important. It's really important in addressing some of the issues.
As a data scientist, I do take offense to being told that it's just entirely not sexy.
It is. You know what? It is. You know, I think it's really cool and sexy, but you know, that's just me.
Somebody's got to do it. And it
Right.
matters.
Right.
As the child of a statistician, I also feel like this matters. So
Isn't it? I mean, it's important. And think of what we can do. You all know data is being collected every minute of every day on all of us. If we can use this to do something good, you know, let's do it. Let's work towards that.
that's really important. Well, other than taking a well-earned break, hopefully after the very successful summit, what does the future hold?
Oh, well, the future holds. We are currently working on an EDA grant that we've had for about a year now. So we're going to continue to work on that. And really all that's doing is helping us elevate what MedHealth can do for the state of Michigan and beyond. But we're also working closely with Wayne State University, as Dr. Levy mentioned, on an NSF engines opportunity, which would be huge. This is a big challenge, but it could be so impactful for how we can deliver healthcare in the future. So we're spending a lot of time on that until the first of the year. And then we are talking about more events because we're finally live. So we're looking at another summit in about a year and a half. We're looking at perhaps a hackathon or some other engagement where we can really try to build some solutions and get some of our next generation founders a little excited about MedTech.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, extremely excited to see these things carry out. And again, being from Atlanta, really happy about how the summit has been really welcoming to folks outside of Detroit as
So
well.
glad to have you here. Please go back to Atlanta and tell them all about us.
Will
and
do.
hopefully we can get to Atlanta as well.
Yes, come
and
on
come
down.
and do your podcast there. So
Stacey, thank you for all of this today, and thanks for being here with Chris and myself and
you.
chatting with us for a few minutes.
And
Big
thank you
thank
for
you.
being a sponsor. I'm going to plug that in really quick. Thank you for being a sponsor and for being here to do all of this really important conversations today. Thank you.
Well, we're having a lot of fun. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.